Hello, everyone. Good night, and welcome to tonight's edition of the Lall Show, where the publisher of Kaieteur News, Mr. Lall, discusses with his colleagues and anyone else he decides to have on the show about the management of your wealth, specifically about your natural resources and your finances. So tonight we're going to have a hearty discussion about the experience of our neighbor to the east, Suriname, and try to determine what we can learn from their experience and how we can improve on ours. My name is Kimal King. I will be the moderator for tonight's proceedings, and we're going to be joined by my colleague Michaela Prince as well. So without further delay, Mr. Lall, good night, and what do you have to say to the people tonight?
Good night, Kimal, and good night to all of you, Guyana. I love to listen to that video, that speech we just played on the radio there, about the three types of people in this world: the idiots, the tribes people, and citizens. We need more citizens in Guyana, just like Suriname. We need leaders to become citizens, just like Suriname, who looks out for the best interests of their people. Once again, good night, and let me begin my presentation tonight. Tonight, I'll be comparing Guyana and Suriname. What Suriname got from their oil wealth as to what we, Guyana, settled for. I am so happy that we were able to know what they received so that our leaders can correct the situation we find ourselves in. Too many countries, Guyana, have lose out on their wealth from lack of knowledge. Most of the Asian, African, and Arabian oil-producing nations suffer terribly with their oil companies, leaving hundreds, if not billions of people in extreme poverty. TNT, our neighbor, made some terrible mistakes after almost 100 years in this business that led them where they are today. Them could have become bigger and better than Dubai, than Tokyo, than Kuwait. But is the but with the leaders. The Prime Minister said Trinidad and Tobago were losing billions through their fingers while they were sleeping at the wheels. I love that. In Guyana, our eyes are wide open, still awake, and billions are slipping through between our feet and hands in front of our eyes. And we, hearing nothing, not a single word from our leaders. Guyana, brothers and sisters, it is very clear something else is going on here with us and our oil wealth. What I have been seeing in this land and what is going on with our wealth, let me be very frank. I am convinced, Guyana, that the PPP and the PNC is on a fast track to sell out our resources and fill their pockets. And now, them heading full speed to sell out the whole country with me and you inside. Please listen how our leaders running the affairs of this country called Guyana, as to how Suriname our next door neighbor, runs theirs. Guyana discovered oil in a very large block, the Stabroek block, in 2015. When that news broke, every Guyanese I came across began jumping for joy. Them say, how all are we going to be rich overnight? Rich like you never dreamed of. Where are we today? How are you living? Are you living any better? Wow. 5 years later, Suriname discovered oil. That was only last year. Ours discovered since 2015. Guess the first thing them do? They put their oil blocks on open bidding process so that they can get the best price for it. Last year they put 8 of their oil blocks up for sale. What Guyana did with our oil blocks, our Kaieteur, our Kanji, our Stabroek, our Berbice block, our Demerara block, our Orunduk block, and the rest. What did they do with ours? They tell us they give it away. They want me and you to believe that giveaway thing. Wow. You guys believe that, right? We are idiots, right? No, I am not. And you guys are not. Suriname dictate that all the oil companies pay the cost for finding their oil. In Guyana was the opposite. We agreed to pay all the costs for finding our oil to ExxonMobil. That has led to hundreds of millions in US dollars. We are almost in $1 billion US to date, with more to come. And guess what, Guyana? We still checking the 460 million to see if it is correct or how much the oil companies inflate it. You see the smart leaders we have? Them got a lot of sense, eh? Suriname, them get 6.25% in royalties, while Guyana settle for less than 2%. You hear me, sir? 2%, less than 2% we get. Suriname gets 36% in total of royalty and profit sharing. Guyana gets 14.5% in royalty and profit sharing. If any profits at all come, you got to put in that. If not, you're left with 2% royalty. With those figures, Guyana, if you do the maths, Suriname gets almost 3 times more than what Guyana settled for. You hear me? Suriname demands full taxes from every oil companies, their subsidiaries, their subcontractors, their contractors, and every expat, every foreign workers, they demand taxes from. What happened in Guyana? Guyana waived all the taxes, not only in the profit oil, but also waive taxes on all the foreign and local partners attached to the oil companies. This Guyana, we can lose in the billions of US dollars. That is what Guyana losing out on, and which Suriname will capture due to their contracts. You hear that? Suriname can go anytime and access the oil company records, facilitates equipment. They can access any activities going on, their files, their registers, without any notification whatsoever. They can just walk in and say, we need to see this, we need to know this. Guyana, on the other hand, has to give 7 days notice to go to see the oil company's activities. Wow. We also have to give them 90 days notice in writing. You hear me, guys? In writing. When them ready for go check the records. And this can only be done once a year. Guess where the records are being kept, Guyana? Overseas. And Guyana has to pay to go there to inspect or to check it. Suriname documents are all being kept. All the records are being kept in Suriname. Wow. Suriname government demand that all the oil companies, listen to this carefully, they demand that all the oil companies submit a yearly report to them on all employees in the oil sector. They must be identified by their nationalities. They also demand that they submit a list of all their subcontractors and contractors every 3 months. Guyana does not know how much contractors or subcontractors working here in the oil companies. I don't think we know anything that is going on in this country where it comes to the oil sector. Nothing. We don't know anything, Guyana. And nobody is saying a single word in this land. Man, this got to be a free-for-all country. Anybody can come here and get escorted. Hear me carefully. Anybody can come here and get escorted by the police, like if them own this country. You try getting a policeman. Try getting a policeman to come when you're being robbed, or if something is being stolen from your property, and see what the station tells you. We don't have police. You try to get a cop to come when you have an accident. You better wait there for hours before you can get somebody to come, if they do come. But these oil players, these oil contractors are being treated like royalty. It is happening every day and every night with these contractors. Look, travel around Georgetown and you will see how these oil equipment and these oil containers are being transported. They are being escorted by police vehicles back and front. And guess what, Guyana? Guess who would be paying? Guess who is paying for those police escorts? Yes, me and you. Our money, our profit oil money, and the taxes that has been waived, our money, that those payments are coming out. So whenever you drive the road and you see a police escorting a container, know that your money is going there to pay that policeman. You try get a policeman to escort you at the bank, and you will see they'll tell you they don't have. Suriname, hear more. Suriname demand that the oil companies use their best effort to train their citizens in the oil industry on technical, administrative, executives, and management positions. You hear that? That's what Suriname demanded from the oil companies, to train these people so that they can fit in to these positions. What Guyana demand? Hear what Guyana demand. Who are Guyana demand, and who are the oil companies training? May I ask? I should ask the question. Who Guyana training? They are training Guyanese for scrub them toilets, pick up the garbage, clean up the mess in case of an oil spill. And they are also training our sisters, our wives, and our mothers to become babysitters and housewives. That's the kind of training oil companies and oil players, contractors and subsidiaries are doing in this land. That is what our leaders have settled for and encouraging oil companies to do to us. No training in any high-level jobs, in nothing. You're being trained to do the cleanup, the wash-up jobs. Yes. Yes. Find out if any Guyanese working in any high-level job in any one of these oil players in Guyana. None. Suriname dictate that they must use all goods and services produced and available in them country over foreign products. You hear that? They must use everything produced and available in them country over any importation. Guyana ain't even supplying a crapo or a frog or a piece of chicken to them yet. Down to water they are importing into this country. As for supplies, supplying Guyanese, wow, we are all sidelined for the foreigners, because none of us were trained, none of us were educated on what to look out for or how to prepare yourself. So when the people come in here, they just grab on to, they come and take up all the jobs. We just got to sit down by the roadside and watch the foreign players driving through and setting up facilities and factories, shore bases, and supply centers. Them, the foreigners, doing that. Because none of us were told to get going. that the oil players out there will need this and will need that. So what that means, there's nothing for us. There's nothing for me and you. We have to settle for the low-end jobs. That slang, Mr. Jagdeo and the rest of the leaders love to repeat day and night. Jobs, jobs and more jobs. He says that all the time. That's a PPP line, Guyana. That's a PPP line. That's the leader's line. Just for make y'all feel good. Jobs is there. Jobs will be coming. What jobs these people talking about? 30 years. 30 years. Look back 30 years. And jobs still coming. They say jobs still coming in the bauxite, in our gold, in our timber. Every product we have, every asset we have, everything they do, first thing they say jobs coming. I remember when they built the Marriott, they said jobs coming. They had all the Chinese people working, making down to the fence. The airport is the same thing. Every project they embark on, they say jobs coming. What kind of jobs you getting? What our brothers and sisters got? You do the maths. Or ask them in the PPP and the PNC. Ask them, Guyana. Suriname demands competitive bidding process on every oil project to be done between contractors and subcontractors so that their citizens can compete and not left in the dark. Them must be able to get in on the contracts and also prevent the oil companies from robbing Suriname. What it mean? Oil companies can just wake up every day and say, Michaela, you take this contract, and Lall, you take that contract, and the price is so and the price is so. Now, when they do that, they give them own players and they all make the money together so that Surinamis can't get nothing and they can be robbed. But if you include the Surinamis to bid with the foreigners, you're able to understand and control the cost and the spending. You hear me? It must be done so that everybody can see and able to understand what's going on. Yes, Suriname put that system in place for their people. Guyana, on the other hand, doesn't know what has been going on with anything and who is getting what and what is paying for what. So what going on in Guyana? What is going on here, guys? We don't know what, where, we knows nothing in this land. What is going on? All Guyana is told is bills. Receiving bills, bills for payment without having a say or have anyone of their people involved so that they can get a bite of the piece of the pudding. You know, Suriname uses all the communication networks. Listen to this, Guyana. Suriname uses all the communication networks, the TVs, the radio, social media, newspapers, to educate the citizens of Suriname about what is expected of them and update them all as to what the government is doing in their oil industry. What can be said of our PPP and PNC leaders? When last you hear one word in the last 5 years going in 6 years from any one of them on this massive oil wealth? And what are they doing for us? They are not saying anything, and they are not doing anything for us. You know, Guyana, many days I wonder if Guyana has a government. And if we do, then whose interests they are working for? Who are they looking out for? Me? You? Certainly not. Look, today we carry another story on the opposition leader, Mr. He said since they leave office, he's putting together that oil conference to answer all the questions we have in the oil industry. I don't think anybody's seeing him around because we don't hear from him. He never answers his phone. I don't know where he is. Maybe you guys got to check and see if your opposition leader is the opposition leader in Guyana or some other country. These things makes me want to laugh, Guyana. But when I look around and see how my brothers and sisters living, it just gives me more strength and wisdom to jump on this radio just to educate you guys as to what is going on in this country. Listen a little more, please. Suriname prepared 260 of their local companies 5 years before they find oil, so that their citizens can be well prepared to participate and make money for themselves through the oil companies and the oil operations. 6 years after this country find oil, Guyana, who did our leaders prepare to partake or participate in our oil operations? You tell me. Nobody. Not a single soul. But look around and you will see foreigners from all over the world working and doing what you and me should have been doing to get a bite of our own cake. We are left in the dark. The coalition leaders train. Yes, them train 200 people for clean up the mess in case of an oil spill. Man, everybody remember that. We had big pictures in the newspapers and speeches in the news about Guyana getting ready for this big, huge oil boom. As a matter of fact, they were so proud to showcase our people in fancy jumpsuits, parading the riverbeds out there. They got all Guyanese worked up. Yes, jobs. Jobs coming like raindrops for us, brothers and sisters. What else did you ever heard of them? What else have they done? How many others have they trained? And in what? Nothing. At least I'm in the newspaper business 26 years. Every day And I have never heard they train anybody else. And these, our leaders, are ever so happy to see all of you lay back in a dreamland. They are happy. Suriname has their citizens. Hear this one. Suriname have their citizens on board all oil projects, looking out for their country's interests. Who Guyana has out there looking after our interests? Let me tell you who we have there. The Jumbies we love to talk about, they're the ones looking out for our interests out there on the drill ships and on the FPSOs. Yes, we have Jumbies there, not Guyanese. Suriname has 20% participating interest on each oil blocks in its oil field. What Guyana has? Nothing. 0%. You guys hear me? Suriname have 20% participating interest on every oil blocks. Guyana has 0.00000%. Nothing. Suriname created a national oil company to ensure their people are ready for the challenges of the industry. But what Guyana did or has? Yes, nothing. Them hustling for bring gas to shore to set up a gas plant and not a national oil company to protect, to prepare Guyanese for a better life. Suriname leaves no stone unturned when it comes to securing benefits for their country. This is what Glenn Lall is not saying this. This is what the country's oil boss, his name is Rodolphe Elias, told the Kaieteur radio last week in an interview with one of my journalists. The boss said when Guyana struck oil, Suriname automatically knew that oil would be found in their land as well. So what they did, them increased their participating interest from 10% to 20%. Guys, imagine them use our oil discoveries to get more from the oil companies. But we who discover the oil 5 years behind time still ain't yet asking for anything, for any renegotiation or for any better deals. In fact, we continue to give it away more and more, and by the billions of US dollars, by just accepting inflated bills. You hear this, guys? With the amount of oil Guyana found, the Suriname boss said he urged Guyana to get more of the pie. The man said to set up a national oil company and participate in the oil blocks. The man said, only then can we keep a close eye on all the costs before them spend. He said Suriname is doing that right now. They created the National Oil Company to represent the interests of the people of Suriname on all the oil producing projects. The boss said by doing that, they are able to question every single cent and challenge oil companies to justify their spending. Isn't that beautiful, man? Man, a market vendor knows these are things we got to do. But what Guyana does? Nothing. if we continue to not have a seat at the table, guys, we will continue to accept anything and everything. And we have to shut up and accept whatever thrown at us. That is where our leaders have us, all Guyana. What do you say? You got to tell us something tonight. I have said a lot there. I've said a mouthful. So I'll be looking out to take your telephone calls. I need to hear from you. Don't call me on the phone. Let us have this frank discussion. Thank you. And I didn't say good night, but let me say good night to all of you now.
Thank you for that presentation, Mr. Lall. We will go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we will continue the discussions right here on Kaieteur Radio. Thank you for staying tuned, and you are listening to the Glenn Lall Show right here on Kaieteur Radio. We just took a very short commercial break, and we're back here to continue our discussion on the Suriname oil industry and how the Guyana government should take a page out of that, our neighbor's book, in terms of managing the industry. Before we continue tonight's discussion, though, let me remind all of the listeners and the viewers that you can call us on 226-7453. You can send your WhatsApp messages to 622-2222. Just remember that you can WhatsApp us and not call, because a lot of people call the number. And you can also visit our Kaieteur Radio Facebook page for the live. And that's all of it. So we have some questions here, and I'd like to shoot them to Mr. Lall, but we have one from Mr. King. We'd like to...
No, I don't have a question. I just wanted to say, based on all of the better contract terms and the better provisions that Suriname has made, that we can clearly see are collectively quite superior to ours, we have to ask ourselves how long we're going to take to get to that place. And I'm going to put in there that the lead story in the Kaieteur News today says that with the current pace that ExxonMobil is producing, it would wipe out our current reserves very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. In fact, at the rate that they're going, we could see them wiping the reserves out by 2035 or 2036. Mm-hmm. And so I am regurgitating this that we keep saying on many of these shows and that I said on the last show. We do not have the time. Mm-hmm. So it is really up for the leaders now to take what we are trying to impart on them and work with it.
Mm-hmm. Kimal, I want to make that very simple. 9 months pregnancy for a baby is 9 months. The oil sector is just like that. But Exxon has changed 9 months to a 2 months baby. You can make a baby in 2 months, meaning they can clean you up, take you out, take out the baby in 2 months. So we don't have the time. Back in Trinidad, back in those African, Asian, and Arabian countries, it took them, they had the time. Today's technology, they could wipe us out. They could make the baby in 2 months. So guys, we don't have time. If we are to safeguard ourselves and protect future generations, we have to get changes to all these oil contracts now. Now, not tomorrow. Tonight. Yeah.
Just to add to what you spoke about there on managing the industry and about time, 6 years before Suriname found any oil offshore its country, it had already been preparing for the sector. Did you speak about it earlier?
Yes, beautiful.
Yes. So they put in all of the measures and the requirements to ensure that the citizens of the country can benefit from all of the proceeds of the oil, and that was 6 years ago. 6 years later, Guyana is an oil producing nation, a year after we have already been producing oil. And there are so many things that are still lacking in our sector. We don't have a proper local content policy, no decommissioning plan. We don't have agencies to properly monitor and audit all of the costs, the billions of dollars that are being thrown at Guyana all the time. There are
Well said.
so many things, so we have about 20 things that we can talk about off the top of your head that are lacking from the sector, and we see very little move from the government in rectifying those shortfalls and those shortcomings.
And don't just listen to us say it. We had the Suriname oil boss here on Guyana's Oil and You last Thursday talking to senior journalist Kiana Wilberg. So if you want to hear it from him, Mr. Rudolph Elias, am I saying that right?
Yes.
You just tune into the Guyana's Oil and News show that is saved on the Kaieteur Radio YouTube and the Kaieteur Radio Facebook page, and you can watch it and listen to him talk about how well Suriname has done and think about Guyana's place in this industry after you've been given that picture.
Let me ask you, isn't this thing shameful? Guyana, Suriname find oil 1 year now, and 5 years they were preparing. They are so prepared. We find oil 6 years. We pumping oil at the moment, and we have nothing whatsoever like what Suriname have in place today. Isn't this is shameful? Is the word?
It's not shameful, Glenn. It's strange to the utmost, because the leaders of Suriname is doing everything in their power to ensure that the oil which belongs to the citizens of Suriname, the citizens of Suriname benefit. Our leaders are not saying a word. Like you said, Harmon was in there for 5 years. When Guyana discovered oil, Harmon came in, the PNC government came in the same time. They had 5 years, and in the 5 years, can you tell me when the PNC government had even one person come and said a single word about oil? Right? These people have total disrespect for the Guyanese citizens, Glenn. From there, they're not saying a word. It's like the oil does not belong to us. The oil belongs to ExxonMobil, right? But everything that's done in the dark, Harmon, he does not want to come on the Kaieteur or anything. Everything done in the dark will come to light. And I'm telling you, when the oil companies in Suriname starts to make their FPSOs and the oil projects, we will see the cost of those oil projects, and we will compare it with the production figures, how many thousands of barrels per day, and the Guyana, and we will know how much the oil companies are robbing us, because that is what they are doing, Glenn.
Exactly. Well, I wanted to make mention of that, but we are not there as yet. I have been saying, and I've said it umpteen times in the newspapers, that those FPSOs that we have out there, the three projects, 1, 2, and 3, that they hand us a bill for 18 billion American dollars. Wait this same year, we will be in a position to see the same FPSO that's working in Suriname. We will see their costs, what they accepted, and you will be able to get the difference. You will see the kind of money, and I'm saying this on this radio station here tonight, publicly. in my heart, I believe they did not spend 9. You hear what I'm saying? Half of that money on those 3 FPSOs. Hear me tonight, and I will prove you guys wrong. Come, give me 2 years when we compare Suriname to Guyana FPSOs.
And look, you asked Mr. Lall if this occurrence is so shameful. I'll take off the journalist cap for a moment and just speak for a citizen about how I feel when I see this happening. I have been reporting about great contract terms from so many countries, from Suriname to this place to that place on every single continent. And I sit back and I wonder why I can't have that for myself. And at this point, I have already come to the conclusion that there was skullduggery, that money passed under some table, and that is why I can't get the wealth that I'm entitled to. Like,
Correct.
there is no other explanation for what is happening right now.
100% correct.
And that is something I think if you ask the layman on the road, they know. They have been speaking about it all the time. Everywhere you go, they say, Glenn, what's going on? You know, and they're asking, wait, how much would they take? You know, even if they take, man, come on, take a little and let us get a little.
They want all, Glenn, and that is why they're rushing so fast ahead to get it all out to the ground before we catch ourselves.
Yes.
But what the question? What is our leaders doing? Suriname's leaders are doing the utmost best to ensure that the citizens of Suriname gets what is rightfully theirs. What is our leaders doing? Guyana, please wake up and question the leaders. Ask them, when are you going to get what belongs to you?
I keep saying this wealth, all these wealth in this land, on land, offshore, it belongs to all of us. I keep telling Guyana, these are our transports. They are our transported seabed and land. We own them. The leaders of this land, the PPP and the PNC leaders does not own anything. They are part owners, just like me and you. We all have equal shares in it. They were only elected there. They are entrusted in those positions to make sure they get the best out of it for all of us and not for themselves alone.
Thank you for that, Mr. Lall. We have a caller on the line. Hi, good evening. You're on to Kaieteur Radio. Hello.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. You're on to Kaieteur Radio.
Good evening. Good night, Mr. Lall.
Good night, sir.
I have a question for you, respectfully.
Yes.
You said that the foreign oil workers are not paying any income taxes in Guyana. If they're not paying any income taxes in Guyana, then the oil workers from Guyana should not pay any income taxes.
Well, I am fully with you. I am fully with you on that. If these people are allowed, if these people are given waivers not to pay any taxes, then why should the Guyanese people pay tax?
My next question is this. When last have you seen the income taxes from the opposition MPs and the ruling government in Guyana? Are these people's income taxes filed in the Gazette, or is it public to the people for them to see what's going on?
That's a beautiful question, but I think that they would have to file their personal income taxes, just like me and you.
Yeah, but they should make their income taxes public to the people.
Well, I think
because this Exxon situation is getting very tilted.
Yes. I think that's where the Integrity Commission kicks in. They are all supposed to, they must declare all their assets to the Integrity Commission, but I am told that not all of them doing it. So we don't know what they're hiding. But I guess they all have to pay their taxes just like me and you. Go ahead.
Well, we need to make, these guys in Guyana, I'm a Guyanese, and I would like to see these MPs and the ruling members of the ruling government make their income taxes public to the people, because this Exxon situation is going to create a chaotic situation in Guyana. Because when I listen to you, I know exactly where you're coming from as a concerned Guyanese. But I don't know if the people themselves in Guyana understand the role that you're playing every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday when you discuss these topics.
Well, I am hoping that I can get to many people as possible. You see, the problem we have, my brother, is that we have to educate the nation, because I have said it many times that this oil sector is not huge, it's gigantic, and many countries take years. Trinidad took 60 years to understand the industry. So I am so happy that we learn a little now. So the little we know here at Kaieteur News, all of us, we are putting out every day in the newspapers, and I'm trying to get on the radio, not only myself Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but I have my colleagues here. They have their own little radio programs on weekdays, trying to educate the people. I can only hope that Guyanese people listen, learn, and speak up.
Sir, the next question. When are we going to start teaching this oil business from infant, from kindergarten to high schools, to colleges, to university in Guyana for the next generation?
Lovely, lovely. Many countries have done that. And that's one of the question that has been playing, and a matter of fact, I wanted to do a story on that. I was supposed to make contact with the government to ask them, when are we going to start? Because we need to start, like you said, from kindergarten. But these guys are not saying now nothing on the big picture, much as get down into the small frame. Right? They're not saying anything, my brother. And none of them is saying anything.
Now, the next question, sir.
Mm-hmm.
The next question, sir. You know that our fishing industries will be depleted pretty soon because of all the acid in the ocean.
Yes, I
Is the
did.
government prepared to compensate those fishermen in Guyana for the rest of their lives?
Well, I did a special program on that sometime back. You can YouTube it and you'll see it. That fish
Okay.
will just evaporate. It will disappear. And like many countries, oil companies were made to compensate the fishing industry and the country with real money, because if you're going to take away food from the citizens, you must compensate them. And they have done that in many
Right.
countries. I hope that our leaders can say, hey, no, well, this is what we have been losing. I think the fishing industry is raking in 200 million US a year. That's left out what we are consuming as citizens of this land. So if we would have to import fish, it means the oil companies have to set aside money to give us to import our fishes, and also compensate for the 200 million we are losing per year. But guess what? That's only in the fishing industry, my friend. Guess how much we get for last year, 2020, in our oil? 185, less than what we are getting on the fishing industry alone. So we are in a terrible shape, my friend.
No, my friend. You know that Guyana is a laughing stock in the world because you guys took $18 million upfront fee from Exxon. And you have close to 4 or 5 trillion barrels of oil in the ground. Why didn't the government take $200 million upfront from these people as an upfront fee or a signing bonus fee for each well?
Oh, lovely, lovely. I would want to add a little more. Maybe we're going to get 300-400 million signing bonus
I
on
agree
each
with you.
well.
Yes. They could have started with 200, then go to 400, then go to 600.
Yes,
each well.
many nations did that.
Right.
Maybe we gotta ask. Maybe we gotta ask our leaders those questions. I hope they're listening, or somebody tell them, because it seems they're very busy.
Sir, I don't need to be disrespectful. I need to be respectful to the Guyanese politicians, to you, and everyone in Guyana.
Thank you.
But we cannot allow this natural resources that we finally have in the ground to take us someplace. For all this money to be disappearing in the hands of a few people who consider themselves the mafia in Guyana. We cannot allow that.
We should not.
We cannot allow that because remember, we have the rice industry, the bauxite industry, the timber industry, all these industries showing no profit. This is 2021. We cannot allow that anymore.
I hear you, brother.
So I want to thank you for your time and your energies that you bring into this program.
I want to thank you for your contribution too, man. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Welcome. Let's go.
And I'm going to add a little to what Mr. Lall said about the fishing issue. Because the oil companies have not only been made to compensate the fishermen, let me tell you, we're told that other countries have achieved a situation where in order to offset the impact of their operations on the wealth and the livelihoods of the fishermen, some of these oil companies have had to do the work to create and partition off specific ecosystems so the fish could operate there, just so the fishermen can have somewhere to plow their trade.
That's right.
There's so much that we have the latitude to demand from these oil companies, and we have way more latitude than many other countries, because those countries do not have what we have. They don't have the quality of oil that we have. They don't have the ease of access that ExxonMobil has, as we have placed in ExxonMobil's laps. And so I just wish that we would take advantage of that latitude.
Thank you for that, Kemal. We're cutting down to our final minutes here on the Glenn Lall Show. So I'd like to ask Mr. Lall for his final comments before we end tonight's program.
Michaela, Suriname has a little more than half our population. And them could have secured so much for their people with these oil companies. What happened here, man? What's going on here, Guyana? Wait, goat bite we? What's happening, man? I don't understand. Let me just say good night. It was a pleasure talking to you tonight. I really feel good.
Good night.
God bless you. And God bless Guyana.